Calaroga Shark Media.
Hey man, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Congratulations to Jerry Seinfeld. He has been added to Forbes' annual Billionaire Roundup. The 2025 World Billionaires List features more than 3,000 billionaires. 288 of them, including Bruce Springsteen and Jerry Seinfeld, are new. Jerry's net worth is valued at $1.1 billion by Forbes, making him the 2,828th richest person in the world as of April 3rd. Do you read Marvel Comics? Some people think that the Rhino is living in the New York apartment that used to be the residence of the sitcom character Jerry Seinfeld. There are some scenes in the new Amazing Spider-Man #1. One of them is reminiscent of Tom's restaurant on the corner there, although it's called something else in the comic. And then we see the Rhino's apartment, which, boy, sure looks a lot like Jerry's place with the couch and the kitchen. Spoilers for Spider-Man #1. You weren't going to read it. The Rhino seems to be out of his mind. Peter Parker tracks down the Rhino in his East Harlem apartment for clues as to what is going on. I'm recording a little earlier than usual today. I have not yet seen any reviews of Tim Dillon's new special, which is odd. Did they not share screeners with anyone? I don't know. On Netflix tonight, John Mulaney has David Letterman, Hannibal Buress, Leanne Morgan, Nikki Glaser, and Randy Newman. As I have said in the past, if you spotted me, David Letterman, Hannibal Buress, Nikki Glaser, had Randy Newman do a song, and Leanne Morgan's there too, all I would have to do is be like, "So Dave, what's going on?" and shut up, and then Dave will say something, and then Nikki will jump in, and then an hour later I go, "All right, thanks everybody, good night." If this Mulaney show is not good tonight, the Mulaney Netflix experiment is never going to work. You're not going to have a better lineup than Letterman, Hannibal, Leanne Morgan, Nikki Glaser, Randy Newman. Speaking of Letterman, I'm sure Mike from the Letterman podcast is saving up all his money for an auction. Remember the time Letterman wore the Velcro suit? That was on February 28th, 1984's Late Night with David Letterman. Dave wore a suit made out of Velcro, jumped on a trampoline, and landed on a wall. It is now part of an auction called Channel Surfing, a broadcast to binge auction. The wonderful website latenighter.com has a lot of information about this. The auction is selling over 500 pieces of TV memorabilia. Late Nighter tells us, designed by Letterman's longtime costume designer Susan Hum. The auctioneer says the one-of-a-kind suit was acquired from Letterman at the request of Johnny Carson. The item's listing tells us the Velcro still works. Bidding starts at $5,000, Mike Chisholm, host of the Letterman podcast, although it's expected to fetch anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000. Some other stuff Mike from the Letterman podcast might want to bid on: a skyscraper from the Late Night with David Letterman backdrop, a child-sized Halloween costume of a McDonald's grilled chicken, cards from various desk bits, maybe you could get one of those, Mike, and wardrobe worn by Paul Schaefer. And when you think about it, who doesn't want to wear Paul Schaefer's clothes? There's also some Carson stuff, including studio lights, desk props, a set piece from the bandstand, audience seats. Some SNL stuff include crew garments, including a jacket owned by Joe Piscopo. And if you want to pick up chicks, you're going to want to get that jacket. One of Dan Aykroyd's Conehead prosthetics, that's fun. One of the Killer Bee antennas worn by John Belushi. Channel Surfing, a broadcast to binge auction, May 7th through 8th. More details on the Late Nighter website. Fox News was listening to Theo Von's podcast, and they noticed that Theo Von is behind these tariffs. Fox News writes, Comedio Theo Von warned that not giving Trump's tariffs a try could be a wrap for America's economy. They quote Theo as saying, "On this comedy tour, we've probably been to the top 200 cities size-wise in America, maybe even more than that. And a lot of them, there's nothing there. It's empty downtown. And so you start to be like, nothing's going to change. There's nothing coming that's going to make that different." Michael Kosta was on the Last Laugh podcast and explained, if I just say Trump is stupid, the audience is going to clap. That's not good comedy. That's not unique. We're not pointing out hypocrisy. We're not building an argument. So we have to be aware of that. And it can feel good as a comedian if you get the audience to clap or laugh, but that doesn't mean you're doing a good job at comedy. And there's a part of me that wonders if we're making jokes while the Titanic sinks, while Hitler's invading Poland. There's also a part of me that can very optimistically appreciate that the Constitution is 270 years old. This is not the first egomaniac we've had as president. It doesn't always feel like they're working, but there are checks and balances. That's the space we're trying to live in. Send your letters to both Michael Kosta and Theo Von. Greg Gutfeld is going to host a game show. Sure, that's a great idea. It's called What Did I Miss? A new game show that will quiz 4 uninformed contestants on the events of Trump's term so far. According to Fox News, the contestants have been kept in complete isolation in upstate New York with no contact to the outside world since January 20th. They had no phones, no internet, no TV, no social media. So these people just sat there reading books. The contestants were released on April 13th. On What Did I Miss? The contestants will have to identify real and fake headlines presented by Greg Gutfeld for a grand prize of $50,000. $50,000 to sit in a room and read books for 3 months, I guess. The limited series is 3 episodes. Gutfeld said in a statement, for these 4 contestants, learn what really happened while they were living in isolation. They're going to have to get through me first. Lucky them. The show is going to tape in front of a live studio audience and will drop on Fox Nation May 12th through the 14th. Looking forward to that one, huh? Ricky Gervais's vodka brand Dutch Born has launched the Spirit of Comedy stand-up competition in the UK. The Spirit of Comedy aims to unearth and promote new talent to a global audience. There will be multiple regional rounds across the UK. The grand finale, scheduled for October 1st in London. Ricky Gervais said, as well as trying to make Dutch Born a billion-dollar global brand, we thought we might as well try to find Britain's second greatest comic. I like that quote. That's a good quote. The first rounds are in May and July in 20 UK towns and cities. The second round, August and September. Highlights of the show will be broadcast on the Dutch Born YouTube channel. If you want to apply, submit a short clip on the brand's website. The winner will receive £5,000. That's around 6,600 US dollars, and will be invited to open for Ricky at London's OVO Arena, Wembley on November 15th. Every guest attending a Spirit of Comedy event will be greeted with a complimentary Dutch Born cocktail. Sean Patton's got a special out. It's on the 800-Pound Gorilla YouTube channel. In number 1, Sean shares his experience with obsessive-compulsive disorder, a mayhem-filled childhood, and the complex, enduring connections with his family. Now, I'm not sure if this special is new or new to the Gorilla, because Sean Patton has an album called Number 1 that was released on September 12th, 2023. But anyway, it's not like we're all quoting that one left and right, so it might as well be new. Vir Das not happy with Air India. He alleged that he got a broken table, broken leg rest, and a seat stuck in a reclined position despite paying 50,000 local currencies for the seat. Gonna have to have Google help me with this one. Let's see, 50,000 Indian rupees are, right now as I record, $583. Okay, so Vir Das paid $583 for his flight, and he's upset at Air India. Das posted on Twitter that his wife, who had a fractured foot, didn't get a wheelchair even after pre-booking the service. Air India says, hey, the crew offered to assist the guest, including deplaning by using the Ambulift assigned to the aircraft. They say the delay, not denial, in providing wheelchair assistance was due to unusually high demand for wheelchairs and staff at the time. We empathize with the guests, especially given the mobility concern involved, and recognize that this experience fell short of expectations. Das posted, Dear Air India, please reclaim your wheelchair. I'm a lifetime loyalist. I believe you've got the nicest cabin crew in the sky. This post pains me to write. Broken table, broken leg rest. Her seat is stuck reclined, won't strengthen fully. We're told the flight is newly refurbished. 2 hours late, we get off in Delhi, and we're told it's a stepladder. Again, wheelchair and meet and greet services at airports pre-booked. I asked the air hostesses at the front of the plane to assist my wife while I carry 4 bags. Silence and a clueless look at each other. We step off the plane to the top of the ladder. I ask an Air India male ground staff member to help us, looks at me, shrugs, and ignores me. Meanwhile, Jo Koy thanked the flight crew of an LA-bound flight that made an emergency landing in Tokyo. The flight from the Philippines to LA was forced to make an emergency landing in Japan. It is not exactly clear why the plane was diverted. However, video taken by passengers shows smoke in the cabin. That would be a good hint. Jo Koy posted a video on his Instagram thanking the crew, saying the flight attendants were amazing. Thank you for remaining calm in a situation that could have went south fast. 355 passengers were on board. Nobody was injured. You may recall Jo Koy once hosted the Golden Globes, where he made this joke about Taylor Swift.
As you know, we came on after a football doubleheader. The big difference between the Golden Globes and the NFL, on the Golden Globes, we have fewer camera shots of Taylor Swift.
So this surprised me. Maybe I'm just dumb and misunderstood everything. I was expecting 3 Kill Tonys on Netflix in a row, but no. They're apparently spread out. Kill Tony was just on YouTube on Monday night, not on Netflix, so I don't know what's going on there. The Free Press had a good take on the Netflix episode, saying the lesson of Netflix's first Kill Tony, and I can't bring myself to watch another one of these, says the Free Press, was that just because you have a popular podcast where you can be rambly and weird and sometimes very funny, it doesn't mean you'll translate well to a different medium. I'm going to give that same note to John Mulaney's show. Hours-long podcasts have built-in Slack. The listener is with you for the ride. A special on Netflix does not. Every frame needs to make a case to the viewer not to click away. I'll jump in here. As I said, I think they put a 10-minute barrier. Tony came out and introduced the band. The first comic was flat. At minute 11, Shane Gillis' Trump comes out. That should have been the first thing that the casual Kill Tony sampler had been exposed to. I don't think the casuals got to minute 11. Free Press writes, the audience expects polish, and it's unclear, though becoming clearer, whether the comedians who found themselves in the mainstream are up to the challenge of shining up. I've been mentioning I'm obsessed with Last One Laughing UK on Amazon. There's only like 6 episodes, so I'm watching one a night, but I am loving it. And it got me thinking, and I share this in the Facebook group, Daily Comedy News Podcast group. Feel encouraged to join us and join the conversation. I wondered what Last One Laughing US might look like. My mind keeps going to Bert Kreischer. I could picture Bert Kreischer in that room, and if Bert's there, I could see Segura there. Another person I thought would play well in that room is Sarah Silverman, because she does like to work dirty, and some of the stuff from Lou Sanders in the UK version made me imagine Sarah coming up and whispering something very naughty in someone's ear and getting a laugh. I started to think about who would be a good host for this. My mind went to Conan O'Brien would be fantastic. However, at some point, there's a budget, right? So if you put Conan on top, the show is really expensive to begin with. So I don't know if this is realistic at all, but, you could probably get Segura and Kreischer to do it for laughs. Sarah seems like she'd be game. Aaron in the Facebook group, Daily Comedy News Podcast group, wrote, I think Sarah Sherman would kill. She's right. Sarah Sherman would be perfect for that show. Aaron also suggested Mark Maron, and I could see Mark Maron in the Richard Ayoade tough nut to crack role. Another name thrown out there, Tracy Morgan. I think Tracy would be really good in the room, and you could probably get Tracy. Anyway, Last One Laughing US. Somebody make this, will you? I got to tell you, I'm really happy with today's show because, I'll be honest, at one point, I thought I had nothing, and this is coming out really well. Let's head over to Moontower. Many shows tonight. Morgan J is your headliner at the Paramount Theater at 7. Morgan has a special on Hulu coming up on Friday. There's actually too many shows for me to tell you about. One that caught my eye also at 7 o'clock at Antone's, New York's Finest. Friend of the show, Gianmarco Ceresi on it. Chloe Radcliffe, Isabel Hagen, Mohamed El Sheikhi, and Nathan McIntosh, Ian Fidance, Emil Wakim, Steph Dagg, Josh Adam Myers, Sam Castillo. That's a nice lineup. Maria Bamford's at the Thompson Theater, also at 7. Todd Barry at the State Theater, also at 7. Interestingly, at 7:15, a show called Cheers Queers also has Ian Fidance on the lineup. So apparently he's going to run from one show to the other. I'm not sure the distance between those two venues. The Moontower All-Stars at the Cap City Comedy Club main room at 8 o'clock features 2 former guests of this show, Matthew Broussard, Gianmarco Ceresi, and Ashima Franklin, who's never been on the show. A show at 8:30 is called S-Word is Golden, so Crap's Golden. But what's catching my eye here is that the cover art for the show looks like if you told ChatGPT to make a cartoon of a very old Mark Maron with gray hair. And the person in question, who's a cartoon, who's definitely not Mark Maron with gray hair, has a podcast microphone. So that's interesting. Lisa Trigger's at the Creek in the Cave at 9:15, and like 10 other shows I didn't even tell you about. Tomorrow is just as busy. And that's your comedy news for today. If you enjoy the show, tell a friend about it. They might like it too. If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, thumbs up, alarm bell, all that YouTube stuff that you YouTube people do it. All right. See you tomorrow.